So this specific video is about me being an ENTP and dealing with an INFP. And people who know what all that means can kind of figure out the similarities and differences between such people and how they affect one another. And if you're asking about why I keep touching the beard, it's because it's become slightly not pleasant, but I'm doing it for something else, not important right now. But back to the main idea of my, not really relationship, but my interactions with a strong acquaintance that is an INFP. And these people, well, the similar trait being that they can judge other people, which is I guess you can say it's the perceiving thing. It's a way of perceiving other people. And for an example, that person doesn't like facial hair. So theoretically, if I'm to try to strengthen the relationship, I would have to find a way to appeal to that person's interest, which can be a little bit difficult if I'm not dedicated. And this specific individual is very passionate about certain interests, but from how I see things, it could take a while to sort of figure that out, that there's certain things I should or shouldn't say about those particular interests. And some of that, maybe I wasn't paying attention at the time, maybe I'm not feeling what other people feel because I'm more of a T than an F. I'm more likely to not feel for everybody when I can. And yes, such people can get very offended by what I say. But for some reason, those people don't completely remove me from their lives, even though it seems like it would be logical for them to do so. Meaning, I'm still friends with this person, even though I rarely write to this person ever. And I also don't call or text this person at all. And somehow, when we meet, and the rest is based on what I'm explaining. That person actually has some similarities in terms of being okay with doing things on an unconventional manner. An example of that would be, we're all in college, and there's a person who can take me, that person, and some other people to some place to go have a snack. And we could just choose out of random where we all want to go, and then we vote on that and go to it. And it doesn't have to be some fancy place. It can be a very random or incredibly cheap place, and we are all fine with that, including this other person. So I guess that feeling of nonconformity is similar, but it could also be very strange if both of these people were with somebody who was a strong conformist, because the INFP can argue, maybe not for the sake of arguing, but they can get into a fit with somebody, and then I'm just debating things on the side with with both of them, and that could be an issue if all three are together, but fortunately, we don't deal with that. I would like to say that as far as impressing somebody who has this mindset with an INFP, you basically have to slowly find a way to figure out what they specifically like and don't like, and have a way to appeal to their interests as much as possible. And if you're not willing to use those inner functions, I guess shadow functions that can do that, then that can be very difficult. Meaning that I would essentially have to be more dedicated to the other person and be having to basically almost work for this person in a way, because I'm doing my best to appeal to their interests, but they do not necessarily have to do the same, and probably won't. And maybe they don't even know your interests, because they can only know through intuitive knowledge, and they might not want to ask, because just asking around for things might not be their specialty, at least from what I see. They don't want to just ask everybody everything, but I'd be somewhat more likely to. And a difference would be the fact that they might not want to act like they've gotten over something. Well, for me, I just sort of forget whatever argument it was, if I can forget it. So, if you offend the person who is one, they still feel a specific way about that interest. Like, let's say you offend them, they'll still bring it up. But it seems like they'll consistently bring it up all the time, but at the same time, it's hard to tell if they really care about what you said versus they just got offended and the feeling is there. Even though it's ironic that they would still be friends with you even after that. And that's something more complicated than what I can figure out right now. But I do not believe that a marriage between such two people, ENTP and INFP, would work because these two, well, in one aspect of life, let's just say you're good at specific things they aren't, you end up having to do those things, and you end up appealing to their interest. They do their things, but they don't appeal to your interest, and they might talk about themselves more than we do, even though we do for different reasons. They will talk about themselves for both positive and negative things, and we only talk about ourselves for, I guess you can say, positive things. So there's a disbalance between who is talking more about themselves and how they are talking about it. So it can be a bit unfitting for both sides, but it depends on where you are in life with them and how long you've known them and who else they know. If they can't find anybody else to be friends with, then that could change the situation, but I don't believe that is the case for either myself or this other person. And anybody else who probably has this personality type, there is a strange mix between being good at talking to people but hating being the center of attention, meaning they're trying to get out into the world but don't want to be the center of the world, even though these people have the strong capability of being the center of attention. And that goes back to this personality actually having a contradiction. This mindset of the INFP not wanting to, be looked at by many people and be the center of attention, but at the same time be the best at being capable of doing so. It's kind of like being very strong but not valuing strength. It sort of turns on itself, which is why these people need more balance between the social life and the other aspects of life. And I think that these people can become very dysfunctional if they can't develop themselves in a fitting manner. Meaning, if they can't find a way to develop themselves and grow in the world, then they'll end up in a very bad position. More in the sense that, they have all these skills and they might actually be successful, but still hate their lives. While for me, the feeling of success and enjoying life are connected. Therefore, there isn't that contradiction between these two ideas. So it could be an issue in the future if you're friends with somebody like this and they're not moving in a direction that is beneficial towards that.